Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Cohesia Connect Conversations. I hope you really enjoyed our previous episode where it was just the founders talking about our experiences and what was it like to be in the industry we're in and how we came to this space and where we are today. So if you haven't checked it out, I recommend that you go back and listen to last week's conversation. But this week, I'm really pleased to be with one of my great friends who's doing amazing things in her industry. And we're going to talk about all things to do with her being a student, being an international student, and then her career to date. So please welcome Kassandra. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you. I'm so glad I can finally get you on our podcast. It's been a long time
Yeah,
talking about this.
definitely. I think I knew about Cohesia Connect before it was even born.
Yeah. You've seen the behind the scenes, you've known the conversations that was happening, and you have been part of some of those conversations.
I know.
So,
No, it's good
so
sometimes
it's
to
great.
be a part of it.
I know. So I'm really pleased to have you today. And I really want to welcome you onto our podcast, onto our platform, because I know diversity, equity, and inclusion is really important to you and what you're doing. So before we get into any of that anyway, tell our audience a little bit about you.
So obviously, Kassandra is my name. I am 27 years old. So I'm originally from Singapore, and I know that's a far away from here. It's I've been in the UK for 6 years now, but majority of that time that was actually at uni. So I came as an international student. I did my bachelor's in STEM in motorsport engineering, and I actually did my master's as well at a different university during COVID in motorsport engineering. And then I've got into the industry working now in STEM and really enjoying it. It was actually, I got my first job, my dream job, right out of the university. So that was quite thrilling. But yes, I've lived my life here in the UK mostly as an international student, finally becoming an adult, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Working, and I've been working for 1 year, 6 months roughly now, and it's been going great.
Oh, that's really good to hear. And I know that you've had a great time being in the UK and studying because it's always been a passion of yours.
Yeah.
But I can also hear the passion coming through as well, even as you speak. So I'm pleased to know that you've had such a great experience, but I'm sure it has also come with its challenges. So if you take us a little bit back and tell us your motivations in moving all the way from Singapore to here to
Yeah.
study.
So really it started, like, my passion with STEM and engineering came up really, really young. I was exposed to, motorcycles and cars because of my dad and my granddad. So my granddad actually was one of the people who on his motorbike rode from Bombay, India to London in the 1960s. With
Wow.
two of his friends, and it was, at home we had loads of newspaper cuttings because obviously there was no internet then, them on motorbikes, and just like I can see my granddad at the back looking all cool. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. And my dad started watching, Formula One, MotoGP, Le Mans, and I was like, what's going on? What's happening there? And he was like, engineering. And I was like, what kind of engineering? So I was proper badgering him, like, what do these people do? How do they get where they want? And I was around like 14. So my dad got pretty annoyed with me. He was just like, they do engineering, they do aerodynamics. I was like, what is that? So
Yeah.
thankfully we've got internet at that time and age. I was Googling, I was searching so hard but that was my first struggle. I think I could remember at the age of 14, I had there was no one out there as a role model who, did the journey that I was trying to do. I was from Singapore, I was a girl, I was trying to get an education in engineering, didn't know what, and I could not find any role models who did the path I was trying to do. So it was really difficult. And then obviously in your secondary school, you have a lot of these career days.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that career day. I was like, standing up really proud, by the way, in front of all my classmates, going, I want to be an engineer. Couldn't hear anyone else like speak. It was just silence, and the teachers just did not know what to say to me. And they were staring at me like, well, that was not what we planned. Doctor, lawyer. I was like, oh, it doesn't say there. And I was like, quite embarrassed because I just, like, again, I was still lost. There was no one there to guide me.
Yeah.
And it all started really with my physics teacher. She basically said to me, do you know what you want? I was like, yeah, I do. I know what I want. It's mechanical engineering at that time. And she goes, don't do your A-levels. Go to a polytechnic and get your diploma. Since you know what you want, be quick. Just go straight and go do your diploma in mechanical engineering. And that's it. So the first odd thing that I did differently from everyone else, I didn't do my A-levels. I don't have my A-levels. I just got a diploma saying I've done mechanical engineering. And 3 years of my diploma days definitely learned a lot more about engineering, and that was when the research really kicked in of, I need to get to the UK because the industry I was interested in, which was motorsport, did not exist in Singapore. Just no existence of that. And I just knew I had to get here because all the universities I was researching offered courses in it, and industry was here, and I was just like, I need to get there.
Yeah.
And convincing my parents was one thing. I guess I'm not sure people are aware, but might as well say it now with you here. I don't look like a typical Singaporean. Not really sure there's a look for them, but I'm mixed Asian. My mom's Filipino, my dad's Iranian, very different. And I'm not sure if a lot of people know, but Asian cultures, it's quite strong that you want to be a doctor or a lawyer. So when your daughter says, I want to be an engineer and I want to go to the UK, you can tell my parents are a bit like, what?
Alarm bells.
My mum convinced me to stay. She was like, I'll buy you a car. I want to go.
You did get a car in the end, didn't you, though?
No, I didn't. Like, she was like luring me, saying, oh, my friend, she got a secondhand BMW, we could get one for you. And I was like, no, that's not enough to convince me to stay.
Oh, bless. No, that's really interesting, because I think even today, and you said that was years ago, you're 27 now, so when you were 14 and wanting to aspire to be someone in the engineer, particularly someone who is a woman, coming from that background, I can imagine the conversations and challenges that you would have faced. But the conversation is still continuing today, which is a little bit sad, I have to say. And we still don't see that presence of women, and especially ethnic women, within those spaces of STEM. So I guess my question would be is what kind of challenges, or what are the key challenges have you perceived or you experienced? So one was not having that role model and not being encouraged in school, but even as you grew up and did your diploma, did you face any other challenges?
Yeah, I think, well, really the first challenge I faced was not even towards like me. When I first came to my university, which you should probably be aware about, it was actually me being exposed as well to all these different cultures and being aware that the UK, it's just a proud thing as well, but there's so many people from so many different backgrounds, and I was from a different background. So the first challenge for me personally was understanding that all these people are different. They all got different, cultures, religions, stories behind them that I'm just so, open to listen to and understand. And for them, obviously, to come back and ask me, it was like, oh, where are you from? All that stuff. And so that was my challenge that I face at university, is being exposed to the different cultures that there are for people living in the UK.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge for me, which I felt a bit hard, was there was two aspects. The first one was, again, I'm from Singapore. I was one of 3 people in my engineering course, and people
Mm.
are also not that exposed to people like me. And it's just
Mm.
difficult to engage in conversations with them that doesn't start with, "Now, where are you really from?
Mm.
Really, where are you from?" It's just like, "Okay, let's get." And them still not understanding it after, spending a couple of years with me, and it's just
Mm.
different people. But I never let that get me down. I always thought, you know what, I'm here to complete my education. I was with someone
Mm.
at university as well who was very strong-headed and said that she's here to complete her education and do what she wants, and she kind of also role modeled me a bit. Yeah, and she's currently obviously now a managing co-founder of Cohesia Connect.
Oh, cheeky.
I had people who pushed me, made sure I actually remembered what I came here for. So
Mm.
that was the first one. And the second one, I feel that was a really big challenge, which a lot of international students still face today, is the fact that you
Mm.
require a work visa to get a job
Mm.
in the UK. Not every company out there is willing to sponsor, and it was such a massive challenge because people don't realize that to them, for example, for you, let's say if you were
Mhm.
declined from a job, you
Yeah.
move on, wouldn't you? You just be like, right, get another job.
Yeah.
For me, or for any other international student, when we apply for a job, we don't get it. There's a time clock ticking at the back, going like, you've got 6 more months left in this country. If not, you're kicked out. So
Yeah.
that fear that's in us, that if we didn't pursue the career we want, or just do our best to just get a job somewhere, it
Mm.
came to a point that even trying to work in motorsport, that flew out the window. I was just applying everywhere that was willing to just sponsor me so that I could just stay and prove my point and get to where I want and climb up the career ladder.
Mhm.
So as an international student, and to all international students who face this, it's painful to know that there's a clock ticking, that you might have
Mm.
your dream, job and everything you worked hard for, to study, to stay in this country. You know,
Mm.
it was painful, and I was really lucky and blessed, obviously, to be offered a role who they did not even bat an eyelid, willing to
Mm.
sponsor me, willing to take me all the way, and it's fantastic working for a company who's willing to do that.
Yeah. And not many companies, because I speak to and I've worked with organizations whereby we've had people, international people, students, graduates applying for roles, and I had to be the deliverer of that message to say, unfortunately, we can't hire you because our client doesn't allow or doesn't provide sponsorships.
Yeah,
So I can imagine, and that's still an ongoing thing. And I think there is this mentality whereby people are coming in stealing jobs and stuff like that. That
yeah,
narrative, which I completely despise. I have to say quite
mm,
strongly. But I think people forget all the talent
mm,
that people from abroad does bring to a country like the UK, especially we've known the effects of Brexit,
yeah,
and what happened as a result. So there is a need for us to be very open. And I think there's, I know for some companies, there is a lot of legal and governmental
yeah,
politics and policies that they have to jump hoops over in order for them to offer sponsorships. I'm not 100% sure, but I know for some it's harder than others. But I think there really needs to be an emphasis in people that have studied here and have, your parents paid for your whole tuition fees, which are double what the
yeah,
UK students
yeah,
pay. So they're already investing in so much in the talent here. So why not utilize it? I find that really crazy to think about, that we're not really utilizing those talents to the best of our ability. But I guess just going back as well, as a young girl and not having that role model, do you feel that you needed a role model to become or be someone within the engineering space? Or is it someone that if you saw it, then you're more likely to believe it? Because there's a whole kind of conversation around are role models necessary in breaking barriers or,
Hmm.
elevating you to the next stage? What are your thoughts on that?
So I feel like when at that time when I was a young girl, thinking about it back now, it was more of I wanted a role model where I could seek guidance. How did they
Mm,
get to where they got to? What was the process? Because I mean, I'm quite engineering technically minded. I need process step by step, and I couldn't find anyone that I could relate to with that. And that's how I kind of foresee a role model. I did have role
mhm.
models when I was younger. Obviously, there was Monisha Castlebourne, who was the first team principal for Sauber F1 team, and she was of color. But she had a completely different background from me. I think she studied law, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
huh? I was just a bit like, I don't want to do law. How do I get there? So it was again, it's just like I couldn't see anyone, and
Mm,
I do feel that role models, to have someone out there and go, and for a younger child or someone in schools to point and going like, yeah, I want to be her, like, oh,
mm,
breaking the barrier, she's done it. That is
mm,
important to an extent, because I do a lot of work with mentorships, and
mhm,
I work with a lot of like mentees, and they've always so appreciative of my story and how I came out, and I always teach them. I don't tell them what I do. I don't tell them how amazing my job is. I teach them the process of how I got to where I got. What
mm,
did they have to do to achieve
mm.
where I am or achieve
Yeah.
their dreams? That was kind of the message I keep giving is, if you're an international
Mm,
student, what are the steps that you need to do to come to the
mm,
UK? I was very clear and open with stuff like that.
yeah.
Rather than just idle, she's
Mm,
director, great, but how did she get there? Right.
yeah. And I
So
think that's very important, especially as a young child growing up. You think, oh, yeah, I can definitely be, I don't know, a singer,
yeah,
but there's a process
yeah,
that goes behind it in order
yeah.
for you to become a singer, or in order for you to become like Beyonce. There is a process.
There is a process, but
She
that's
didn't
the thing
just show
people
up.
wonder. People don't know the process. It's easy to scream and shout saying, "I want to be a policeman. I want to be an astronaut." But yeah, there is clocks setting in their heads going, "But how do I actually do that?"
Yeah, yeah.
So
And I think we don't talk about it enough. We
mm,
kind of glamorize this, brilliant job and brilliant career, but I think now more than ever we're starting to break it down, but it's still quite glamorized in the fact that, oh, I definitely want to be in that space, but we need to get you the building blocks first before we even, start on that process or that journey.
yeah,
So I think that's very important. And I guess for the STEM industry, it is important to an extent, as you said, because you do need that kind of encouragement that someone's done it.
yeah,
But also you need to understand, okay, how can I where can I go and how can I get to that point?
yeah,
And a lot of it's to do with networking, learning. You know, Google is amazing nowadays. You can find anything on Google, you can find people on Google. And I think, something that you said at the start is even back in Singapore, STEM was still not
mm,
still
not
a
thing.
male dominated and not really built up. And still today in the UK, we kind of think that the UK has a STEM problem, but in fact, it's probably worldwide.
I think it
Whereby,
depends on the country as well. Like Singapore, for
mm,
example, is all about economics, maritime
mm,
industry, insurance. Like it's very business-like. Like think London, but
mm,
how do you throw in cars or automotive? It's too small of a country to take
mm,
in those industries for STEM. Um,
yeah,
just, again, it's to do with a country that's not being sustainable for that kind of industry. Because automotive and motorsport, it's you need a lot of space, land space, and all that. And
mm,
Singapore has, again, it's a beautiful country. You can see they've planned everything. They know exactly which industry they want in that country, and everyone just
ah,
goes for that kind of like system. And there's not much of STEM in general there.
mm,
That's
mm,
engineering, I feel, and women in engineering as well. It's still not very developed, and not even here in the UK as well. We're still getting there. Still trying to progress.
yeah, yeah. I think we're still quite far behind in regards to women within the engineering space and STEM overall. Um, And I think it needs to definitely be encouraged from a younger age and having that exposure. I know, for instance, my sister, she was one out of two girls in her engineering class, and she really liked it. She really enjoyed it until the boys in the engineering class became very um one-sided, shall I say, in the sense that it's a boy subject
Mm,
and she's only doing it for fun and she can't really get a career out of it. And I think that's a mentality that we really need to shift,
yeah,
because even within schools and secondary schools, there is still that mentality that boys and some groups and communities grow up with, like,
yeah.
okay, I definitely can't enter that industry. So how do we break that generational impact and mentality? And it it's a long process, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but I think step by step we can break down those barriers. But
No,
I know, on the other flip side of that, I know, and I hope you don't mind me saying, but you have also recently been diagnosed with
yeah,
ADHD.
yeah,
And I think it was just last week, it was Autism Awareness
yeah.
Week. And, it'll be great to tell us a little bit about your journey, in becoming diagnosed. And again, what were the challenges?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, basically, I knew that something was different. I think before I moved here to the UK. Again, I wasn't thinking the same as everyone. I was doing weird things that didn't seem normal, and I
Mm,
didn't think anything of it. And I remember Googling and thinking, again,
mm,
Google about ADD and ADHD, and it just always it's a lot better now. But last
mm,
time, when you Google ADHD, it always says like inattentiveness. They're like talking really loud or they can't concentrate. And I keep thinking to myself, oh, but I can concentrate. Not like I
mm,
can focus really well. But I didn't realize it's because I was focusing on the one thing that I enjoy and everything else
mm.
I do not care about. And that was
Yeah.
actually a symptom of ADHD is you hyper focus on one thing and you can do that one thing. So when I
Mm,
read these like tick boxes, like you really can't focus anywhere, you're really inattentive.
mhm,
Oh, but I can, but it's just one thing. Or
mm,
so you cut people's conversations off. I was like, no, but I am listening to Ivelka. I'm talking to her,
mm.
but really in my brain, I'm trying my real hardest not to cut her. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of like I didn't believe the checklist because I don't do those things, but I always had a reason, and those reasons
Mm,
were actually ADHD. It was all the different
yeah.
things of ADHD. So because of that, I came to the UK and I was quite confident. Did my research,
Mm,
spoke to people, and like I just knew
mm, yeah.
people who are neurodivergent. I feel like they always know. They always know that they have.
Mm,
And it's very difficult to accept that or to make. And till
mhm.
this day, as well, sometimes I still feel like I don't have it. I go, oh, I'm just making up in my head. I don't actually have it, but it's true. And I remember going to my university GP and
Mm,
I want to get diagnosed. Because obviously, me as an international student, why not take advantage of the NHS? You save yourself free GP.
why not?
And then she goes, "You just have anxiety." And I was going, "Anxiety? Me? Are you sure?" I was like, "Oh my god!" And I believed her. I thought, "Oh, I am just anxious. Maybe I just want."
Mm.
And then she gave me these tablets that did not work. Didn't know what they were. Didn't feel like I would take them and sit there and be like, "Has anything changed?" Okay, it's been half an
Really?
hour, nothing's happened. Like, okay, this doesn't work. Um,
Mm,
and then read a BBC article
mhm,
about women who get diagnosed really late. And in that BBC article, even said there, this particular lady went to the GP and she got diagnosed with anxiety. But the
mm.
reason why she knew she had ADHD was because her husband did, and her husband got diagnosed in 12 months, while
Oh, wow.
she was being second guessed because she was a woman.
Oh, wow.
So the symptoms for men and women present so differently.
Mm,
And when I read the article, I thought in my head, That happened to me. Hold up. This isn't a one, she's not giving a one-time story. This actually happened to me. I went to a GP and got told I had anxiety.
Mm,
And I was shocked. So throughout uni and my masters and stuff, I knew I've had it and I did what I could to cope with it. Never
okay.
got diagnosed, never like got medication for it because I just like I can do it. Like
Yeah.
fine, not a problem. And then it changed when I was working.
And do
So
you think that
yeah.
was that because of the environment, perhaps?
Yeah, like you know how I was saying to you that if you really like a topic, you'll focus on it and like you'll be doing great at it. That was what was happening at uni. Every module I thought, oh, I love this module. I'm gonna do my best at it. And to be honest, the ones I hated, I did horrible at because I didn't do
Mm,
well. And at uni, you experience burnout, you know, because you're working late hours and stuff. I thought that was like so you do get ADHD burnouts, which is a lot more intense and emotionally like even more, you know, frustrating and stuff. And I just
mhm,
thought, oh, it happens once, it's fine. It won't happen ever again because it's uni and it's stressful. But
mm,
every day when you're working, there's different sets of challenges. You are communicating with people every day. You can't just hyper focus on just work. And if I choose to suddenly hyper focus on one thing, like my phone,
mm,
someone's gonna
mm.
call me out. It's not like I'm at uni where I can just do whatever I want. I've got
Yeah.
responsibilities. So that responsibilities is what's been changing, and the stress level obviously plays a part. And
Mhm,
as a someone with ADHD, we do have tendencies where, for example, we pick. So I pick my thumbs, I scratch my head, and to
mhm.
do this at work is embarrassing because you don't want to do these things. So
Yeah.
again, I work for an amazing company who has a
Mhm.
on-site nurse, and
Okay.
that's when I spoke to HR, got the ball
Mhm,
rolling. They set me up with
mhm.
a nurse, had a great chat with her, and she goes, "Yeah, you need to get diagnosed." Like, she was like
Really?
showing classic signs of ADHD. She even said,
Mm,
I remember, she even said to me, "Don't be afraid of the word autism." And I was like,
mm,
"What do you mean?" She's like, "If you do get diagnosed, don't be afraid of autism as well, because you are showing some traits of it." But she's like, "But it's normal because you're neurodivergent. There will be traits that surface like in different forms. It might just be ADHD.
mhm,
Don't be afraid."
mhm.
Do you remember how I said to you, like, I knew I had ADHD throughout uni, but
Yeah.
coming out of that nurse's office when she basically said, "No, this is quite serious now," I cried, man. It felt like it was the first time that I was finding this all out again, and
Wow.
so overwhelming. And
Mm,
like, I was like, "Oh God, like, why is it different this time? I don't understand." So, but now
mm.
process obviously getting it sorted properly, getting medication diagnosed, and doing it with my company has been quite good. And slow still, but it's
Yeah.
progressed. But
Yeah.
it's different challenges when you're a student versus working, and it's different
Mm,
challenges as a male and a female who's got ADHD. And
yeah.
yeah, so how it is
Yeah,
really.
no, thank you for being so transparent and honest about that. I think a lot of people will probably reside and relate to your experience, especially women. I know a couple of weeks ago we had someone on the podcast who was talking about their experience living with a disability and how society has this particular narrative or tick box that they like to put you within
Yeah,
that then kind of interferes with how you perceive yourself and how others then go on to perceive you. And I think the term neurodivergent is still a new term for some people, and people are still getting used to what is neurodivergent. And there is neurodivergent and neurotypical people and how we differentiate, and the different characteristics. And I think slowly and surely it's now starting to be talked more into organizations, which is great. But as you rightly pointed out, you experienced this long before you even stepped into the workplace,
yeah.
and you didn't get the support that you need. So I guess now we're switching it back to your uni days. Do you think universities need to do more in regards to providing support for neurodivergent individuals?
I think it should be exactly the same as how a workplace should should approach it. Like, for example, my company, when I told them about this, it was an
Mm.
immediate point with the nurse. It was not only just a nurse talk about it, she made notes on what my manager could do to help aid my workplace environment. Now
Wow.
imagine that in the university aspect. If a nurse has sat down with you and just wrote down everything and go, okay, let's now inform your lecturers on how you best work, how you best
Mm.
study, that's going to improve that person's like literal life at university, because they won't feel like they're struggling with everyone else. And I'm not talking like an extra half an hour during exam
Mm.
time. It's so different. And even further back from university, it should be done at schools as well, because we do a lot with special needs kids who have, autism and other aspects of hidden disabilities. But not everyone is so far extreme, and not everyone needs to go to a special school and all that kind of stuff. Like, people
Mm.
who are neurodivergent still can function every day in a normal life, but schools need to be more open in that aspect, that they're not just serving neurotypicals, they're not just educating neurotypicals.
Mm.
There are some 5 out of 10 people out there who are neurodivergent. It's going to be that one kid who keeps making noise in class. It's going to be that other kid who has to stand up because he just can't sit still. And it's not their fault. I
Yeah.
remember when I was being badgered in my Mandarin class. I used to take Mandarin in primary school, and I could not for the life of me sit still, because I didn't focus on it. I hated it, didn't enjoy it.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
what would our Chinese teacher do? She'll call me out on it. She'll be like, "Oh, go to the back. So you're disrupting the class
Yeah.
at the back." But I want to learn. This is just not the way I want to learn it in.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a really good point. It needs to be from the very formative stages of our education and childhood. And I think it even needs to be recognized within family dynamics,
yeah,
because within some families, and I don't want to generalize, but there is there
taboo.
is that taboo
Yeah,
that exists within some ethnic minority communities, whereby stuff along the lines of disability, mental health are just not talked about and
yeah,
essentially just wiped across as
yeah,
if nothing happened, and the child is misbehaving, or the child doesn't know what they want to do and they can't sit still and all of this stuff. But I think there needs to be a lot more education in terms of that, I think, across the board. Workplaces have definitely, I guess, set the agenda,
yeah,
but I think that's far too late.
mm,
That
yeah,
is far too late for someone to get the support, because at that time things have, escalated and accelerated from
yeah,
from a child.
yeah. Exactly. Like, exactly that. I felt fine. I knew I had it in uni. I dealt
Mm.
at uni the best way that I knew I could. But there's just going to be, and like I said, I reached my working life and knew that I was struggling. But that was my story. That's my progress.
Mm.
Someone could have been struggling. I can't even remember if I really struggled in primary school or secondary school. I could have, but how do I know? I can't remember. And
Mm.
I someone could have had that struggles way early in life or way later. Like, it presents itself at its
Mm.
worst at people's lives, but there should never be just support in one stage. Like, I just had support in my workplace. I kind of timed it right. Like, maybe it's like I've
Mm.
struggled now, but luckily my workplace is pretty good about handling, these things. But what if I was in secondary school in Singapore, which is Asian
Mm.
dominated, doesn't really believe in, majority of well, at that time at least, it doesn't
Mhm.
believe in like mental health and diversity, neurodiversity. What if I struggled
Mm.
then? What then?
Mm.
I would have
Yeah.
support. So
Yeah.
quite
I
scary.
totally. Yeah, it is very scary, and I think we need to do more around the education aspect at all stages and not have it centered at one stage. And I think that would really help a lot of people on their journeys in life, because the support, I'm talking specifically for women, as you rightly said, women, they're less likely to be diagnosed at an earlier stage. So you don't really know um what you're up against on challenges, and you yourself don't quite understand why certain things are happening,
Yeah,
because everyone else around you, even the doctors, are telling you one thing, but deep down it's something other.
yeah,
So I think there needs to be more education, more enlightenment around the topic, and therefore more support for those that may be on the spectrum, whatever that may look like for that person, and have the allocated treatment. And I know, and this again links back to D&I, we need to also have people within those spaces who are diagnosing of representative of the communities.
Yeah.
Because I know we had one of my other friends a couple of weeks ago, she's studying to be a speech and language therapist, but majority of people on her course and majority of the therapists are from a particular background. And they struggle to engage with people from different backgrounds, and therefore the treatment is differed because of that. So there is a whole lineage of things that needs to have like a wash clean and renewed and restoration of it all for us to really come to the forefront to say and support neurodivergent individuals. But overall, what would your advice be for someone like yourself navigating the engineering and STEM field, even with ADHD?
So it's kind of like that question, what would you tell your younger self, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, when you
Let's get all therapeutic here now.
But the one thing that kept pushing me, even till this day, right now, even in my career and how I progress, is you do you don't need to care about anything else. You just need to do what you can do to get where you want to be. If you can't sit next to this person, move your chair. Like, do that. Obviously, it's a lot easier to say than done, because trust me, Velka knows, like, I like want to change seats with my previous like role, and I couldn't, and like was being scared. I didn't want to offend anyone, but because it wasn't conducive. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, and I remember saying to you, Eve, that time we had that conversation, was, I don't care, because I'm still going to do really well in my job, and I'm going to do what I can to do well in my job. But no matter what you've got, whether you're in a spectrum, whether you've got hidden disability, physical disability, don't let anything or anyone try to hinder you. You know, that's why most companies, well, I hope most companies have a D&I, forum or D&I group. My company does, and we have got advocates speaking for everyone. I am very strongly speaking for everyone who's got hidden disability. I know someone in my D&I group who has got physical disability and actually works from home all the time, but she, even though she can't come in the office, she's constantly fighting for, like ramps and more lifts installed for people who can come.
Accessibility,
Ability. So I think in one way, I would tell anyone who's progressing as an international student, someone who's got ADHD, someone who's at school or uni or at workplace, like, at the end of the day, you are not alone. You just know what you have to do for yourself, and get the help you need, and get the people you want to surround and support yourself what you need with you in your corner. And I think that's one thing that's helped me the most, was that I went digging for the information to get where I want in my career. I went digging for the right people. I mentor myself so that I can reach out to more mentees so that they are not lost if they want to get to where I want to get to in STEM. And it's like, that back and forth conversation. Other people help you, you help them. And we progress where we want in life, but always remember that it's still your journey. Don't let anyone else dictate your journey, be it school, STEM, trying to find out your diagnosis. That's your journey, and you hold it close to your heart, and you just need to know that it's you who has to get through it with the help and support from the correct people around you. And I wish someone would have told me when I was younger, but it's all right. I knew.
Hindsight is a great thing.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's beautifully said, and I don't think I could have said it any better. And it's so true. And one thing I do want to emphasize on is the fact that you have the right people around you to support, because that's how you will elevate, and they will continue to fill their cup with their knowledge, their expertise, their experience, their perceptions and understanding. You learn so much. And I think for international students, and even UK students, we really need to encourage this idea of networking
Yeah.
and finding your tribe. And
Yeah.
I think for me, I wish someone also told me that when I was younger. Network, go out to events, meet new people.
Yeah.
Even though I'm more of a people person, I wish I had done more, because now I'm at this age and I'm just like, and I'm now networking. I'm just like, I wish I'd done this sooner. I would have been a lot further in life.
I tell all my mentees, like every time I mentor someone, I say to them, you create a LinkedIn account. It's okay if you don't want to network yet, but you scroll through, read what people are doing, see who are the
Yeah,
people you want to get in touch with. And I always make this point, and it probably is going to affect any student out there. If you're on LinkedIn, don't just connect with someone you don't know. Drop them a personal message, because there's a high
yes,
chance they're going to want to network and accept you if there's a reasoning why you're connecting with them, instead of just clicking that button. Because I don't want to connect with people I don't know, but if someone came up to me saying, "Hi, I've read your profile, I'm interested in how you got to where you are, it would be great to connect," I'm more likely to accept you because I want to help
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's
I get some. I actually got a LinkedIn message with someone who's studying a HR degree, HR qualification, and they reached out to me and they were just like, "Oh, I really like your profile, and it'll be great to connect. We have, similar interests." And I was just like, "Yeah, I don't know you, but I would like to connect with you too."
yeah,
But it's
exactly.
it's such a great thing, and I think I wish these were things that I also knew when I was younger.
Yeah,
Yes, I'm now reaping the fruits of it now that I'm older and I know what to do and how to do it. But I think, wouldn't it be crazy to know if you had some of this knowledge back then? Like,
yeah.
we would have been years ahead.
I know. And the thing is, when you network, you're actually seeing those role models. You're seeing the process,
Mhm.
how they get there, and like to not have access to that, or at least to not know about it when I was younger. Exactly that. I could probably been where I am a lot quicker than than that. But at
Literally.
the end of the day, I'm there for anyone who wants to see my journey and wants to connect with, because even though I'm guessing even though we didn't get that when we were younger, we still want to make it
Mm.
easier for everyone else.
Yes.
I had it in my
Yes.
head that I struggled as an international student. I know how it feels like to get rejected from a job and the clock's ticking, but
Mm.
I still try my best to make it easier for any other international student that's trying to get into the industry or studying and whatnot.
Mm.
Very close with my current cohort at my university where I did my masters. Told them all to connect with me and network with me and ask me any questions, and they always come back asking me like, "Oh, what do I do? I've got a job interview. Do I say I need a visa?" And I'm just like, "Right, let's go through this." But they say, and like always willing to help. And
Oh.
so yeah, that was the networking thing. But actually, Eve, just going back to what you said previously about having the right people in your space, and I think you would know this as well. But there will be times where we're going to get wrong people too. There'll be
Yes, we will.
wrong circle, but they teach you a lesson at the end of the
Mm,
day. I don't know what's
mm.
right from wrong, and I had learned that
Yeah.
the hard way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You have to go through those I call it those uncomfortable stages. Life isn't linear. It will be up and down, and if you
Mm.
think life is going to be a bed of roses, then you got another thing coming. But yes, you will learn from those experiences, and I'm definitely not neglecting that. But certainly by equipping, if depending on where you want to go, having those people that can shed those seeds of knowledge that would
Yeah,
allow you to flourish and grow into the path that you want to, that is very pivotal.
yeah,
But sometimes you have to become uncomfortable, and that does mean sometimes you have to interact with people that in hindsight you realize probably weren't good for you.
yeah,
But they taught you a lesson in that moment, and life is a lesson, and these are things that we learn at different seasons of our life. So it's still all important. But I
yeah.
guess my final question to you is, what's the future like for women in STEM,
So
and what do you want the future to look like?
interestingly enough, this actually is quite in line with this is theme on International Women's Day about equity.
Mm,
And there was a Instagram reel I saw can't remember who posted it. I think it was a Formula One team or automotive team. We basically posted a video about girls saying they don't want to be exceptional. They want to be normal. They want to be the same as everyone else. And I feel like that's where we need to go. We need to go where females, me being from Singapore, I shouldn't be the only one or the only female from Singapore. This should be normal. It should be more people. There should be more international students who have put in the effort to come and stay and study and provide that diversity to the UK. There's a lot of things that we've learned differently, the cultures that we bring in differently from all the places we are in the world to this beautiful country, and to a country that's pretty open to diversity as well, compared to a lot more. And I feel like that's where we need to really be at with STEM. We just need to get to a place where it's not, your aim shouldn't be that you're remarkable. Your aim should be that you're as unremarkable and everyone else around you is just as different and has so many ideas and doesn't look like you. It's just, that's where I think we should envision to be in STEM. And I think and I hope we're progressing and on our way there. I remember seeing that video and thinking that was so strong to highlight that we had a goal previously when R.I.S.E, when she flew over the Atlantic, she was the first woman to do so, and that was remarkable. But that was years ago. We should be at a stage, nothing we do should be really remarkable. It should be normal. It should be the ordinary, that we are all, as you know, we've got to where we are with equity, and we're treated with equity, and we're progressing as we are. And I really hope we get to that future, because that would be, to know that I played a part in it as well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Me to be where they are, so that I know that I'm not the only one. I don't want to be the only one. It's lonely.
It is indeed. But no, thank you for saying that. And I think, again, that was well said. We want to be remarkable as individuals, but not remarkable in the sense of
women,
we're the only one, or women are remarkable in doing certain things. It should be the norm. It should be the talk of the town. Just as we talk about different careers, I don't want to say what's the fascination, but it should be accepted that women can also grow and progress into fields that that are traditionally men dominated. But yeah, I think we still have a long way to go, but I think we are making our journey towards that. And I too hope that we can get to that point. Maybe not in my lifetime, but hopefully in my great grandchildren.
But at least we know we're a part of trying to make that.
At least we know we were a part of that, and we are making a difference. So thank you so much, Kass, for joining us on our platform once again. And I really appreciate you sharing your story and your journey as an international student, but also as an individual, and coming into this conversation very transparent and open-minded. So I love you lots, and thank you for joining us.
And thank you so much for allowing me to be part of Cohesia Connect and having this conversation with you. And I really hope it reaches out to people who are just looking for some guidance and some process.
Me too. Thank you so much. Take care. See you soon. Bye. Bye.